Howdy, howdy. It's Trisha Lee in Alberta, Canada. Welcome to the Disruptive Technology Hangout. I'm here with my business partner, Laurier Lever. Um, Larry, as we call him, he's my mentor, and he's has a pretty illustrious history as an entrepreneur and inventor. He invented patented technology, which is still being used by a company called Suncast Polyurethanes. And Larry is responsible for the patented process that they use for bonding plastics. And the company was recycling oil field pigs, and then they moved into designing pumps and stuff for some of the oil sands nastiness involving the tailings ponds and stuff. So he sold his interest out of that company and has moved on to work with me in TK Environmental and King Sunshine Solar Systems. TK is mainly a recycling company, and that's our profitable business that we run together. And King Sunshine is our startup company, which we have patented technology for a new way of generating heat and electricity through solar power. So we've been working together on our companies since 2008, 2009. So we're coming up on almost a decade of persisting consistently with our disruptive technology that we designed. So a couple years back, we just decided that we would start hosting this hangout because we have so many ideas and plans and opportunities for potential businesses and services, products to be created through the new technology and sometimes the old technology that exists out there. And because we're heavily involved with the two companies that we already work together in, we weren't finding the time to pursue some of these other new technologies and projects that exist out there. But we figured that we could take some time to talk about it in order to inspire other people out there that may be watching on the internet to take some of our ideas and run with it for a new product or service that can be beneficial for all of humanity as well as profitable for yourself. So basically, that's what this disruptive technology is all about. It's all about exploring potential opportunities and new businesses, new products, and new services that can be spawned from the ever-changing technology that has basically taken over our lives in this modern society that we're all a part of. So Larry, do you want to introduce our topic for today? It's pretty exciting stuff. I'll pass it over to you.
Houses. Ta-da!
You don't care to elaborate on that?
Well, I don't know really a lot about it because the people that were supposed to come on were in the construction business and they're not here. So all I know is a little bit about 3D printing, which we've already talked about in the past. Disruptive technology, but we didn't talk about houses actually being built. I can remember when I first heard about this 3D printing technology, somebody was telling me, yeah, they'll be able to make a pizza using a 3D printer, which I thought was pretty funny at the time, and I didn't know what to think about it. I thought, well, you make a pizza with a 3D printer, does that mean you make the pizza and then you have to bake the pizza, or does it bake it while it's making it, or what? And so I don't know. I didn't hear too much about that afterwards, but 3D printing, we've had some stuff worked on for 3D printing. That's it. It is pretty unique process for building stuff, that's for sure.
So on the little bit of research that I was able to do, I was really impressed with how fast, phenomenally fast, that they can build things with these 3D printers. I watched a video from China where the inventor of the process that they're using in China to 3D print buildings built his entire office as in warehouse, whatever factory he has for his equipment or something like that. But anyway, what astounded me about listening into that is that they were able to print the walls for a building covering 10,000 square meters, not square feet, 10,000 square meters in a month. And I found was an article where they were talking about how in a 24-hour period, their 3D printer built, I believe, 10 houses, 3,000 square feet. So I think I wish that your friend that was going to join us, who's in the construction business, was here, because definitely if were this type of construction to catch on, I'm sure that there would be like panic amongst a lot of contractors, because there's no way a contractor can compete. Like, I would realize that this 3D printing equipment is super, super expensive, but if you can build a house in a couple of hours, there's no way that the expense of the printer, the material, could be prohibited when compared to like a crew of 5 to 10 guys working for a month to create a building. It's pretty wild. So people all the time, I think science fiction culture, the science fiction culture has kind of breeded this fear amongst us as humans of this type of technology that will replace our jobs. And it's like construction jobs are hard, laborious, dangerous work that I don't think that human beings necessarily have to be doing. So I love that this giant 3D printer, which to me is just basically a big robot, can replace the jobs of many, many men. Not that those men won't be able to support their families and be able to make money. It's just that they're going to have to find a different, better way. It's like when you think of like the example of like the horse and buggies, right? Like the people that made the buggies, they either had to go start making cars or they had to go do something else. So it's not that this kind of technology is taking your job away from you. It's actually removing a dangerous, hard job that human beings don't need to be doing, so that you can go pursue some other way of making money that's hopefully more enjoyable for you. That's how I see it. But I know a lot of people out there see technology taking over these things as a negative thing. But for me, I believe it's totally a positive thing. It's a great, wonderful thing for people. However, people in the construction business that are building houses right now may see it as a threat. But I would encourage anybody thinking that way to make a shift and find the opportunity. Potentially, there's going to be all kinds of offshoots to these 3D printed buildings that we don't necessarily know what those are going to be. They may require different type of maintenance. They may, I don't know that much about construction or anything, but I can foresee that. I just see I am focused on seeing opportunity everywhere in everything, even like the most tragic possible situation that you can think of. There's in the book Think and Grow Rich, which I religiously study along with Larry. In that book, Napoleon Hill talks about every adversity holds within it the seed of equal or greater opportunity. So when you see this, like we had an experience like this with a competitor moving into our market. When you see this initially, you can feel a lot of fear but if you are studying the book, you'll learn that that's not useful to, it's natural to feel like fear when your livelihood is being threatened. However, it is more beneficial to look for the opportunity hidden within that challenge, that adversity, because somewhere within that adversity that you're faced with is some opportunity for you to grow, some opportunity for you to reinvent yourself, some opportunity for you to be able to just be more fulfilled and the work that you're engaged in. So if you can look at these types of things, these new technologies that are coming out, threatening people's jobs, if you can look for the opportunity that lies there, it's going to serve you better than focusing on the threat or the fear. It's natural to have that fear. However, it doesn't benefit anyone. So it's really important to make that shift and flip that switch from, oh, I'm threatened by this change or this situation, and shift it to see where's the opportunity, like where's that silver lining in this big cloud that's blown into my life and is disrupting what I want to do, what my goals are, and so definitely recommend Think and Grow Rich as a resource for anyone if you're watching these Hangouts with an eye towards creating a business or out of your ideas. You'll have to realize that adversity is going to be piled on, and it's all a matter of persistence and being able to continue to move forward around, over, under obstacles that come in your way. So in regards to this 3D printing of homes, it's super interesting how they're the materials that they're using. Because when I first heard about it, I kind of questioned, that was one of my first questions, is like, okay, well, I know that the 3D printer that I've seen, it uses plastic, and I thought, are people really going to want to live in plastic homes? And what I discovered is that the materials that I'm aware of that they are using, they were using in the video that I watched, they were using a mixture of concrete and recycled building materials. So I would think that that would be like smashed up buildings that, like stuff that would normally just go to the dump. They must be pulverizing it and mixing it in with the concrete, and because that's what they said. They said a mixture of concrete and recycled building materials. Did you get a chance to look at some of the materials that they're using for these buildings? Or from what I saw, it was mostly like office warehouse type buildings that we're building. However, I realized that in Europe, there was somewhere in Europe that you mentioned where they're actually building homes for people to live in. So did you have anything to add, Larry?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that as well. The things that I saw for what they're actually doing with 3D printing of houses is it's uh, I say they can run pretty much anything through a 3D printer. So if you can run food through it and concrete through it, you could probably run you could probably run pizza dough through it and build a pizza dough or an actual gingerbread house out of a 3D printer. I could see that happening. Anything that they can put into a 3D printer, that concrete one, I watched that, and that was like waste materials from concrete being used in Japan. Um, so it's kind of like a slurry of. It sounds like it might be a little bit like papercrete, where they mix water in with, or not water, but they mix in paper and concrete together, or some kind of slurry that when the 3D printer gets going, it comes out. It must come out hot, or something has to happen, because when when I watch a 3D printer work with plastic, it comes out hot, and as it hits the air and as it makes the part that you're having made, the plastic cools like immediately. So plastic cools off, and then that's how the part gets built. So that the other ones that I saw, I think they're all kind of similar. However, as the part gets built, or as the house gets built, somebody's got to feed the machine that's doing the printing. So it can't be producing stuff out of thin air. It has to have some kind of source. So when they make plastic uh, parts from a 3D printer, they have it all on a spool. It's kind of reminds me of the old sewing machines where when you're sewing, you'd have a spool of thread on the top, and that thread is what makes the sew. It's really similar to 3D printing, whereas the thread is actually plastic or whatever is being fed in there. So the houses, I'd like to take a closer look at what the machine, the 3D printer, is drawing on for a source, because it's coming out to me, it appears to be coming out as a liquid, and then probably drying over time. So if that's the case, while I was watching the video for the 3D house being made, it reminded me of when we poured the walls for the basement of our house. We had ICFs for the walls, and my job was to guide this long tube that was attached to a big crane that was really high. It was like 6 stories high, and this tube came down. It was like a concrete pump truck, and the way the concrete came out of this thing reminded me a lot of how the concrete was coming out of that 3D printer. So the way it works with a concrete pumping machine, like a pump truck, is they feed the material into the pump truck from a cement truck, like a concrete mixing truck. Cement truck, they call them usually. I don't know if that's the right term today. And then it gets fed into the pump, which pumps it into the walls of the house. So I can imagine that's probably how this 3D printing of the house works. Is it's probably sucking it in to the machine from like a big bath full of the material. That's the only thing I can imagine it doing. They don't really show that part when they're actually making the thing, but that's where my imagination would take me as to how they're actually achieving what they're doing. You know?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Not too sure. I don't know that much about it. But I have 4 on here, and it's pretty phenomenal. They're making all kinds of stuff with 3D printers. I even seen somebody talking about a car. I guess it's there's like 4 or 5 parts to this car, and then they assemble it, and you can drive a 3D printed car, which
Yep.
kind of doesn't make sense. So from like what I am predicting with how this technology is going to be disruptive, one way that I really see is this is going to majorly cut down the cost of buildings. I just can't see how it would not be more cost effective,
Well,
because
there's no waste.
yeah, that was a big thing. The guy from China was talking about specifically was how environmentally friendly these buildings are, and I can see like definitely there's a lot less energy needed to go in, and then the fact that they're using recycled building materials, which would probably just end up in the landfill if they had not found a way to repurpose them through this concrete mix that they've got going on. It's pretty phenomenal. I'm quite impressed with the technology. And when we did a hangout, I guess about 2 years ago, talking about 3D printers, if at that time I would have been told, oh, they're going to build houses this way, I would have thought that you were crazy. But then again, I'm a big believer that anything is possible, so I probably would believe it. But it's quite surprising to me how fast people have been able to take this 3D printing technology and come up with some pretty amazing ways for human beings to utilize it to cut costs, save on resources, being able to protect the environment. And then from what I seen, when I was looking at this stuff online, it looks like these houses would be quite efficient because the walls are like thick. So there's like a really big insulating factor. And then also from what I saw, the way that they were constructing, the way the printer was constructing it, it also looked as if these structures would be extremely sturdy. Like there seemed to be a lot of reinforcement involved with what they're doing. And but I didn't see them using any rebar. I know when you're using typical concrete construction, there's a lot of rebar involved, but it didn't look like that was necessary because the way that they were
out of the 3D printer. Because I
no,
know
I don't.
saying that it comes that they can actually build these 3D houses with the wiring already in as it's coming out. I have no
That's
idea how they do that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that could be, but from the looks of it, it just looked like the way they designed it that rebar wouldn't be necessary because it looks so structurally sound. The way that they were pouring the material was, but that is amazing. I find it kind of difficult to fathom how they would be able to do the wiring and the plumbing with the 3D printer, but I guess it's all just like a computer program, and if you feed it the right materials, it should build anything you want, right?
Yep.
It's pretty phenomenal. Very amazing technology. Um, in I believe it was China as well. They're building the first ever apartment building with a 3D printer.
Yep.
So they're going in all directions with this. So initially they were using the technology for office spaces and like maybe warehouse storage, and now it's straight up houses that people can live in, and just now even apartment buildings. And it should be interesting to see the big 3D printer that they have to create to be able to build some skyscrapers. Seems as though they're going in all directions with it, so anything is possible.
Yep. And you know, I like I've been saying for a long time, don't fear the robots. They're just going to make your life easier, not harder. So there's nothing to be worried about when all this robotic stuff starts happening, because you know, like people are going to be able to find other things to do. Just because a job is being done by a robot, and this is kind of where you got to start thinking about the economics behind it, right? If you have a tool that does a job and you have a better tool come along, you still do the job, right? So the guys that used to be digging holes with shovels are replaced by the one guy with a backhoe digging a hole. And the next thing is going to be the backhoe is the guy driving the backhoe is going to be replaced by a computer. Did anybody get hurt in any of those situations? No. The tool just becomes the worker, but there's no decrease or detriment to the standard of living because it's simple. It's just a tool doing a job, and who gives a hoot if their job is being replaced by a machine? As long as you still get paid, you don't have to do the work. It's not like the machine or the robot's gonna get a paycheck and then go out to the bar and watch strippers. That's not gonna happen. It's gonna be people will still get money for their lifestyles to do whatever they want. And I think in the future, we're not even going to see money. If robots are doing everything for us, like 3D printers are building houses and stuff, you just move into the house that was built. But like what I said before, whatever's feeding into the 3D printer, whatever's feeding as a source for the 3D printer to do its thing, that's where the cost is, right? That's what's going in there to make whatever's being made. It's got to be fed something, because it's not just going to come out with some robotic hose, stick it in the ground and build a house. It's got to be some kind of man-made concoction that the 3D printer draws on to as a supply source. Right? Can I say,
Right.
can I get everybody to say right, Larry?
Right. I don't know if you can see my messages I'm sending you in the chat, but anyway, definitely, I'm distracted. But this this technology could, yeah, disrupt the construction business in a massive way. And yeah, people have to learn not to be afraid, but it's tricky because it's programmed into us. We're totally at least in North America. I'm not too sure. I haven't spent enough time in other parts of the world to get a feel for how it is there, but here there's definitely a culture of fear. We're supposed to be afraid about the economy, afraid about the terrorists, afraid, like everybody's afraid of everything. It's just ridiculous. It's I think most people have a longing for this simpler time. Like when Roosevelt said there's nothing to fear but fear itself, people were stronger. People believed in each other and believed in the greatness of a collective group of people being able to accomplish wonderful things. And
that hasn't changed at all. It took people to put that technology together. So that hasn't changed. Right?
no, it hasn't changed at all. There's still there's more opportunity available now for people than in the past. There's more protection for people in the past than there was in the past. So if people, the issue is that there's more media than there ever was in the past, and the media is not there to provide you with the news. The television shows that you're watching are not there to provide you with entertainment. The truth and the fact of the matter is that all of these things are instruments of propaganda, and they have been that way since their inception. Since television was brought into the homes of the average person, it has been propaganda, and they don't call it television programming by accident. There actually are trying to influence how you think and what you think, and a big part of that is fear, because when people are feeling instinctual fear, they are easier to control. it's a fact of the matter that if you are in a state of fear, you are more susceptible to the influence of other um, people or the things that you're seeing or hearing. And so you have to understand that um, it's a lot better than it used to be, because people were not even aware that this programming was going on. However, nowadays, thanks to the internet, a lot of people are becoming aware that this wonderful television set that they have in their family room is actually an instrument the government is using to program you to be in a state of fear so that they can control you. And like, it only makes sense when you really think about it. And when you think about the types of movies that they make, like the science fiction movies where the robots get this, they give the robots artificial intelligence, and then somehow they break free from the control of the humans and take over and do all these bad things. Well, robots can only do what human beings program them to do. So it would have to be an evil person programming the robot to get it to do anything bad. Like, um there's little to no risk of technology turning against us like that. However, there's this huge science fiction culture that has programmed us to be afraid of that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a situation where the robots are doing something malicious. It can be the situation that we're talking about, where these 3D printers, which are basically big glorified robots, are taking over the jobs, and people are afraid of losing their livelihood because of this technology. But like, what I want people to do is start reading the book Think and Grow Rich, and realize that you've been programmed your whole life to think in a way that keeps you easily controlled. And when you are able to break free from that mindset, then you can start seeing that opportunity that exists with the obstacles and adversity that you have in your life, instead of turning yourself into a victim and having this, oh, the 3D printer is going to destroy my business, when it is like, oh boy, I'm going to get in on this action and somehow provide materials or get my own 3D printer, or move with the flow of the way of the world, instead of trying to swim against the current and being in this state of fear that something is being taken away from you, instead of seeing it as a gift that something is being given to you and that you have an opportunity to change the way that you do things, and to be able to do it in a more productive and effective and environmentally friendly way. There's just a lot of potential whenever there's new technology involved. But I gotta go. Unfortunately, our guest that was going to join us didn't show up, and I don't really have anything else to say about this topic. So I'm going to wrap it up. Right now, anybody who's watching on our free energy page, I'd like to invite you to click the button. In about 20 minutes, they're going to have the Project Titan pre-launch mastermind that you can check out, and there'll be you'll be able to learn some interesting stuff about internet marketing, and that is basically a conduit to being able to grow the business that you have more effectively, or start your own business on the internet, or to just change your mindset and just be a more powerful and effective person in whatever it is that you're doing. So thank you so much for watching. Before I go, I want everybody to know that I'm a firm believer that in this life, absolutely anybody can be, do, and have anything they want, or we can have everything we want. And I choose everything, and I hope you will too, because you can. So click the link and find out about Project Titan and how it can help you to change your life and start going after the things that you want out of this life. So Thanks for watching, and we'll be back Monday, and we may talk about this topic again if our guests want to come back on, and if not, we'll have a new and fascinating topic to bring to you Monday at 8 p.m. Same place, same time. Thanks for watching, everybody. If I don't see you in the future, I'll see you in the pasture. Bye-bye.